Hello guys, welcome to another video brought to you by Kofi. So for this video, I'm going to show you how you can collect logs from your VPC. So essentially, if you set up your EC2 instances connected to a VPC, one of the key elements is you want to track those traffic. So if anything happens, you can review those logs. And one of the crucial way of keeping your logs is to utilizing the CloudWatch for that purpose. So for this video, we're going to dive into it and see how this can be achieved. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So first thing first, log into your console.aws.amazon.com. So once you are in there, you should be presented with this screen here. So once you're here, one of the key things is you need to ensure you have, example EC2 already configured. So in my case, I already have that one configured. So let's go into EC2 and just have a look at that. So I'm just going into the instances that are running, and currently you can see that there is a test EC2 instance running, and I'm just going to check the specific VPC that is linked to this. So currently this is linked to this VPC. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a VPCFlowLog. So for us to do that, we need to drill into the VPC. So let's click on that, and this will open up in a new tab. So now we've selected the VPC that is linked to our EC2 instance. So I can easily select that object and then click on the flow logs in the middle here. So if you can see it, just use this toggle and push it up a bit so you can see the flow logs. So once you have the flow log visible, then click on it. And this is where we're going to create it. Just click on CreateFlowLog. And then you can give it a name, it's optional, but I'm just going to give it a name anyway. So I'll name this one Kofi VPCFlowLogs. And then for the filter, I'll select all traffic. So that means I'll see the traffic that are accepted and also the ones that are rejected as well. For the maximum aggregation interval, I'll set this to 1 minute so I can get a quicker output. So just set that to 1 minute. And for destination, I'll set this to send the traffic to CloudWatch Logs. I can also send it to AWS S3 bucket and other places like the Kinexys as well. Right, but for this test or this video, we're going to send it to the CloudWatch Logs. So select that option, and then for destination, we need to select our logs group from CloudWatch. If you have not created one already, then you can take the opportunity to create one. So for this, the creation is quite simple. I'm just going to open up a new tab so I can show how this can be achieved. So I'm just going to go into CloudWatch. Select a CloudWatch, or move away from the screen, but that's not a problem. We can go back there momentarily. So in CloudWatch, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a log. So on the left side, click on logs and click on logs group. And here you can then create your logs. So I'm just going to click on CreateLogGroup, give it a name. So I'll name this one Kofi VPCFlowLog. And I'll use CW to indicate CloudWatch, and I'll add one to distinguish from the one that exists already. So that's all you need to do here, and simply click on create, and that will create your flow logs. So once that is created, then you can then go back to your VPC and set this up. So I'm just going to go back to the EC2 instance I have. Click on the running instances, select my test EC2 instance, and then scroll to the bottom again and select my VPC. So when my VPC is selected, I can then select from here and click on Flow Logs, and I'm going to create the flow logs. Again, the one I was creating earlier, because I clicked on the CloudWatch and save it, so it's all gone away. So I'm just going to set it up again from scratch. So click on Create Flow Logs and then give it a name. So I'm just going to name this one as Coffee VPC Flow Logs 1, and I'll accept all the traffic, set the maximum aggregation intervals to 1 minute, send this one to our CloudWatch, and now I have my VPC flow log, a VPC CloudWatch created, so I can then select that from here. So once you have that selected, scroll down, keep this one as the AWS default format, and simply click on Create Flow Logs. Okay, so I'm missing one thing. One of the crucial thing that is needed is also the IAM role, right? So I'm missing that one, so I need to add that one as well. I already have one created, so I'm just going to show you how you can create that. So I have this Coffee VPC Flow Logs role created. So this will have all the roles and permissions required to assume the role to really use and for our CloudWatch to assume the role of administering those logs from our EC2 and also VPC. So just going to show you real quick how this is done. I'm just going to go into the IAM bit, and then in IAM, I'll select the role so we can walk through the role. So this one is Flow Logs. So here it is. So I'll select that. And as you can see, this is the permission. So I'm just going to show you what the permission is. So I'll put the permission in the video description so you can have access to that permission. So once you're creating your role, you can create it with the same permissions. So essentially, I created a permission and added this JSON. And also the trusted entity is linked to the VPC. So if I go back to the permission again, as you can see, once the entity pick up these permissions, they will have access to all these. So that means you can actually have access to logs on the EC2, and also you can delete and create as well in that regards. Right. So when you go into the trusted relationship, you will notice that the service that this is attributed to is the VPCFlowLogs. So just use the same thing. I'll paste it right below the description of the video so you can use that. So probably you might be wondering, how do you create this from scratch? It's quite simple too. All you need to do is, first of all, you can create your policy. So you click on your policy area here, click on create, and then you can then click on the JSON, remove these, and then paste in the specific JSON I will supply to you under the video. So once you paste it in here, then you can then save it. Once you paste it in there, you give it a name of this permission, and then you can use that permission for the role. So creation of the role is also straightforward and easy as well. So I'm just going to cancel out this one. For the role, just simply click on roles here and click on create, then select custom trust policy. Once you select that, remove these JSON and then replace it with the one I will add to the video. Right, so once you've done that, then the next page is to select your permission. So I'm just going to go to the next. So in here, then you can search for the permission you created. So then you can select, for example, Coffee VPC Flow Logs, and then that will be associated to that trusted entity, and it will have access to these permissions here. So that's it to creation of your permissions and also roles. So let's move on back to our VPC flow logs. Now, under the IAM, simply drop this one down and then select your row. So in my case, I'll select the row I've created for my VPCFlowLogs. So I'll select that, scroll to the bottom and simply click on CreateFlowLogs. And I will create the flow logs. So let's make sure we have selected. So make sure you have selected your VPC and then click on the flow logs tab. Make sure this one is set to active. So this is the flow log we just created. Scroll to the right side, check to make sure the status is active. Once you see it's active, then it's all good to go. All right. Now let's go to our CloudWatch. So I'm just going to quickly jump onto CloudWatch. And then we can then go into the logs group. It takes a bit of time for the logs to aggregate. So just give it a few more minutes, probably about 10 minutes for the logs to aggregate. So now we click on the log group that we created. This is it right there. We might not see any log stream now, but it should populate momentarily. Right, so whilst you're waiting for the log stream to be populated, what we can do is you can go about testing logging into our EC2 instance just to create and also show that this actually works. So to do that, let's go to our EC2 instance. So have it open up in this tab here. So if you don't know how to get to it, you can simply come at the top here and just type in EC2, then go to your EC2 instance and then click on the running instance. All right, so we're going to SSH into this. So what I'm going to do is just going to select this object here, click on connect so I can see that information to access this. So what I'll do is I'll just click on the SSH client and I'm just going to SSH into it. So I'm just going to bring up my terminal. Okay, so with the terminal up, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cd into my download folder where I have the SSH key, public key. So I'm just going to and then I'll copy this to SSH into it. Come in here, paste that in, and just type in yes, and that SSH me into it. I'm all good there. Right, so I'm just going to exit, and I'm just going to simulate a login failure. So to do that, what I'll do is I'll go back to my EC2 instance and remove or change the security group to a security group that do not have port 22 enabled, so no SSH. So let me just simply select my EC2 instance, click on actions, and under security, change the security group. So in here, I'll select option 2, remove the security group. Then I'll search for a brand new security group. So I do have one that I've named security group with no SSH. So these do not have SSH enabled. So I'll just simply click on add security group and then I'll save it. So whilst we have this save, I'll bring up my terminal again and I'll try to initiate an SSH connection, which I know is going to fail because there is no port 22 enabled on that security group. So this essentially will simulate a rejection when it comes to SSH into EC2 instance. So that means you have information about this recorded as well. So this has been running for a few minutes, and as you can see, it failed. All right, so I'm just going to move that out of the way, and then let's go back to our CloudWatch. Click on CloudWatch, click on log groups, And now let's see if the log is showing up now. So I'll select my VPC log group. And there you go. So we have the log stream showing up now. So you can click on that one and you can see the log coming straight through. So it's really hard to read this, but as you can see, you can have all the logs coming in. When it's rejected, you will definitely see it, and it will tell you the corresponding IP address related to it. I mean, the reason why we're seeing a lot of these logs entries due to the fact that the moment you expose your EC2 to the outside world, the bad guys are already ready. They have bots that are trying to brute force into any open access. So there are numerous IP addresses that do not belong to me that is already attempting to connect to my system. So that's the reason I have multiple of them showing up here. All right. So I'm just going to show you how to then check to see what is going on here. So what we probably can do is you can use what we call the, you can create metrics filter, and then with that metric filter, you can also get more granular information into connection to your EC2 instance as well. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right. So to do that, we need to first of all go up to the top here and then click on our VPCFlowLog here. Once we click on that, scroll to the bottom a bit, and then you see this metrics filter. Click on the metric filter, and then we can create a new metric filter. So in here, we can then enter a filter pattern. So I'll share this with you right below the video as well. So I'm just going to paste that in. Okay, and then we can test this out as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some test information to run a few tests. So I'll clear this one and paste my test sample in there. Click on pattern, test pattern, and then it shows that it's all good. Then click on next. Then we need to give this filter a name. So I'm just going to name this filter test port 22 access. I can name it whatever you want to name it. Actually, let me make sure this is supposed to go into the filter name at the top. So I'm just going to grab that and paste that one in the filter name session here. And for the matrix namespace, I'll also give it a name. So this is about the VPCFlowLog. So I'll probably name it Coffee VPCFlowLogs. For the matrix name, this is about SSH that we are testing. So I can say SSH connection, checkout, something like that. For the matrix value, I'll set this to 1. Once we have all this configured, then we can go to the bottom here and click on next, and then we can create our matrix filter. Okay, so the matrix filter is created successfully, but another key thing we can also do is to create alarm. So what the alarm will be for is, if let's say there is a rejection of the SSH, then probably you can use SNS to send a message to your email to notify you. So to do that, scroll to the bottom of the metric filter, then let's select the metric filter we created. Click on the checkbox next to it, and then click on create alarm. All right, so for the alarm for the period, we set this one to a minute. And then for the threshold type, I'll set this to static. And whenever SSH connection checkout is greater than or equal to 1, so whenever we see any entry, then we can trigger this alarm. All right, so I'll set that up. And then once you have that one configured, you can proceed to click on next. And with this one, we can then set it in alarm, and then we can then create a new SNS topic. So this is the simple notification service. Then we will create one. So I'm just going to make sure we have a name for that. All right, so I'll set it to my test SNS flow logs, and then we can put in an email that will be used to send out. Whenever there is any trigger, an email will be sent out to that email you specify here. But bear in mind that once you set up this SNS, first of all, you need to confirm the first that you want to really subscribe to this topic. So you will receive an email. Just make sure you accept it. But because this one is a test, I'll just make it test at test.com. And then I'll create the topic. All right, so that is created. So what we're going to do next is to scroll to the bottom here and click on next. And we're going to give the alarm a name. So probably we name it SSH connection rejection. That's it. Then click on next. And then create the alarm. Okay, so we have the alarm created here. It's coming up as insufficient data at the moment, so we can wait. So the state will change to OK or in alarm whenever there is a trigger. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm just going to quickly generate some traffic. So I'm just going to bring back my terminal and then try to initiate an SSH connection again. Right, so the connection is not going to be successful because we still have the security group that do not have SSH enabled. So this is going to fail. So I'm just going to click on Ctrl+C to stop the connection. Go back to my EC2 instance. So I'll use a different tab. And then I'm just going to select my instance, change the security group to the one that works. So I'm just going to go back to here, remove this one, and then I will select this one here. This one have the SSH enable, then I'll add it and save. Once I have that one added and saved, I can come back here and see if we have any data. So it's still showing us insufficient data. But whilst you're waiting, we can also start to review our logs from here. So when you click on Log Insights, you can see the type of connection that are coming through. So one of the key things you probably might see is that there is a lot of attempt connection from other IP addresses, for example. So for us to do that, what we can do is we can utilize the query section here. So once you go in there, you see the option for VPCFlowLogs. Click on that one, and then you see different queries you can actually use. So in this scenario, I can use any of these one to populate a query that will show up here that I can run to get some information. So to do that, what I can do is I can simply say, okay, I want to see the top source IP addresses with higher number of rejection requests. So I'll click this one drop down, and then click on apply, and it will populate it here. So I can easily click on run, and then to run it. But before you run it, you first of all need to select your flow logs. So click on the browse log group here, and then I'll select this one here, and then close this one down, and then run the query again. And this will fetch the data. So as you can see from here, it's giving me information about all the connections coming through. And the reason why we've seen a lot of these is due to the fact that there are others, computers or bots around the world attempting to SSH into my system. So that's the reason why we see all these ones here. So equally, my IP address will also should reflect here as well. All right. So that is it for this video. I hope this video helped you out to set up your own VPCFlowLogs to retrieve all these logs and then save it into your CloudWatch. And then you can use that one to set up alarms so that each time there is a rejection, you will have this information available to you. If this video helped you out, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.